Hey guys, welcome to another week of At Ping, coming to you from my backyard. We got a few questions this week. Let's jump into it. Hello Ping, I have a quick question for you since you have pro racing experience. How would you describe the typical pro MX racer psychological profile? Are there any similarities that you see among the pro racers in general, and especially among the champions of the sport? The McAdoo crash has me wondering what kind of person has the mental fortitude to hit that plateau jump in Atlanta at pro pace right after face planting into said plateau jump. Thank you very much for your wise insights, Brennan Duncan. Something that's been really interesting actually on the Whiskey Throttle show is just getting to sit down and get to know these guys a little bit better and talk to them. And I've heard some great things, man, from something keeps standing out to me that Marty Smith said was champions all have the ability to move past a mistake very quickly, whether that's a little bobble on the track, whether it's a bad race, whether it's losing a championship. They don't dwell on it. It's like, well, okay, that happened. What's next? Like immediately you just move on to the next thing. And that stuck with me. But it's very interesting also seeing the different kinds of motivating factors for each of these guys. Carmichael said that the thing that drove him, that pushed him, got him out of bed every morning was the fear of losing. And I thought, man, he's like, I was terrified to lose. Every week I thought, oh no, they're going to go home, they're going to figure out what I'm doing, and they're going to beat me. And so he just would get up and work because he was so terrified of losing. And that's completely the opposite of anything you'd ever hear from a sports psychologist or, people who've competed at the highest level. They say they built confidence through hard work. So I think that there's a lot of different ways you can get there. Ricky proves that. I think Jeremy, although we've not had this conversation yet, but just what I know about him and what I've heard him say, he just knew before he went to line he was going to win. So he was a guy who built confidence through, his riding and his bike, and just he got to a point where he just knew he was going to win before he even went to the line. So that's very different than obviously what Carmichael said. So I think there's different ways psychologically they can get there, but the bottom line is they all are super driven. They all have a great work ethic because you don't succeed in this sport without it. You've got to have a certain level of grittiness and determination, and you've got to be physically, as an athlete, very capable. All of the things that our sport requires. You can't just be a guy who, he's just got good endurance, but his reaction time's not great, or his hand-eye coordination. You have to have everything. And then psychologically, like I said, there's different ways you can motivate yourself, but you got to want it. You have to want it in your heart, or you just don't have a chance. Don't mind my chickens in the back, sorry. So anyway, I would say, any kind of long form interview, go in and listen to these guys talk because it's fascinating. Even Steve Caballero, who's a skater, but we talk a lot about nature versus nurture and the sort of the mindset of a champion. And he was a guy who didn't believe there was any kind of natural talent involved whatsoever. He thought it was just guys who are successful are willing to work harder or take chances that the guys who are less successful aren't. And period. No ifs, ands, or buts. There was no percentage of nature versus nurture. It was just, that was the answer. So really interesting. Those are the things I think that everybody shares, but like I said, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat, as they say. Thanks for the question, Brennan. Second one comes from Rich Thomas. When you describe the condition of your knees, it sounds like you're talking about mine. I'm 54 now and have slowed down a lot, but still try to ride MX a few times a week. I've not found any exercise that I felt really helps mitigate the pain, swelling, and loss of motion in my knees that nearly any type of activity causes. Of course, the surgeons are willing to do a replacement, but a significant crash seems like it could have too catastrophic of an outcome after a knee replacement to me. Do you have any recommendation on an exercise or piece of equipment that you found helps? Thanks, Rich Thomas. Rich, the things that work for me are bicycling, and kind of my newfound thing has been this sauna, infrared sauna that mine is a Rhino sauna, or Relax Sauna is the name of the brand actually. But that infrared sauna just kind of forces inflammation out of your joints. And I follow that up with an ice bath. And even if you can only do that a few times a week, man, you'll feel a huge relief in your joints. The achiness, that's been the biggest change for me in 10 years probably. You know, and I'm a guy who deals with sort of achy joints, especially knees at night, and that's been amazing. I would say, aside from bicycling, just anything zero impact, right? Some swimming, if you can do that. But there's not a lot, you know, you use your legs for a lot of stuff, so it's tough there. But I would say look at your diet, maybe go get a panel and see what you have any allergies to. You know, they can do an allergy panel and find out the things that cause inflammation in your body and avoid those like the plague. Because that sort of systemic inflammation obviously isn't going to be good on your joints if you've got some arthritis and issues already. CBD works for some people. I use my Power Dot a lot, which just kind of contracts all the muscles around there and will help, again, force out swelling. Those would be my best recommendations. And I try my best to stay off ibuprofen. If it gets really bad, I'll do a dose, you know, a relatively high dose for a couple, 2 or 3 days. But that stuff's tough on your kidneys and liver long term, so I do my best to stay away from it. Hope that helps, man. I would, you know, I get told by everybody to hold off on that knee replacement as long as you can, because as you said, you smash that thing good in a turn and ruin that. Yeah, you don't want to go through that twice, and there's only so much bone they can thread into, so you got to be really careful once you have the replacement. So I'd go as long as you can. Try any of these things that I'm talking about and see if you can get some relief. So good luck with that, man. And lastly, this comes from Brian Alba. Ping, there's chatter that Herlings might come over and race the Nationals here this summer. Have you heard anything? How do you think he'll fare against U.S. riders on our home turf? Thank you, Brian Alba. I haven't heard anything more than just the same chatter everyone else has heard. The GPs are getting pushed back, and if he decides to come over, I'll say this. I think our U.S. riders have a really big problem on their hands. Herlings has already proven he can show up here to a track he's never ridden against our very best and kick their ass all day long and twice on Sundays, or Saturday for this matter. Whether it was Redbud, whether you look at Indiana when he came over, I mean, he's on another level. That doesn't mean he can go to all 12 rounds and he's going to crush everybody. He could have some issues. Maybe we get to, I don't know, some tracks that he just doesn't vibe with, and he could have issues. But this guy's a bullet, and I think that Eli will be tough, Cooper will be tough, so will Roxon, so will Osborne. You know, there's guys that are going to do, you know, they're going to be fast this summer, but if I'm betting money on somebody, if he comes over and he's committed and he's with Red Bull KTM, that's where my money would go. I think he's going to be a super tough guy to beat. So that's my opinion. But again, I have no idea if he's coming. I've just heard the same things you guys have, and I'll wait for the official announcement from Red Bull. So that's it. Hey, if you guys have questions, please send them in on video. Just take a little video of yourself asking the question, and we'll go ahead and post that up on here. You can send it to ping@vitalmx.com. Super easy. Appreciate it. Either way, shoot me your questions. We'll get them answered. Hope you guys are good. Have a great weekend. See you next week.